We just got back from a walk. We're going to do my weekly review of Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter, and there's tons of news this week. And I'd like to remind everyone, I only say the points that I find interesting. There's a lot more information for anyone that wants to subscribe to it. Before I get into it, though, August the 28th at 7 p.m., Great North Wrestling is returning to live events in Kingston, Ontario. And I'm really looking forward to this. More information at thehannibaltv.com. Speedball Mike Bailey is going to be making his Great North Wrestling debut on that event. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be Cage Wars 3. The Blood Hunter with Blaze is going to be defending the Great North Wrestling Heavyweight Championship against two-time WWE Tag Team Champion Rene Dupree. And it's going to be a lot of action if you live in the Kingston area, Brockville, Ottawa, Napanee, Smith Falls. Come out to it. It might be the only Great North Wrestling event of 2021. And, of course, it will be recorded for the Hannibal TV. But let me get right into the news here. I'll start with the AEW news 2 weeks in a row because AEW is actually more interesting than WWE for the second week in a row here. There's been lots of rumors about Brock Lesnar coming to AEW, and according to Meltzer, there's nothing to them. Tony Khan has never had a business discussion with Lesnar, and Meltzer feels the stories of Lesnar signing with AEW are 100% inaccurate. He is not signed with anyone, not WWE, UFC, Bellator, Triller, or anyone. He hasn't even been in negotiations with WWE because apparently he likely would only be interested in coming in from a time period of like WrestleMania 2022 to WrestleMania 2024, somewhere along those timelines, and his value will probably be greater closer to those dates. And as I've said before, I believe Brock Lesnar is actually the best guy AEW could sign because he would bring in the fans that aren't AEW fans. Most people know who Brock Lesnar is and would be interested to see him wrestle in AEW if he jumped over there. I know I would. I would like to see that. It would be more interesting to me to see Brock Lesnar in AEW than WWE right now, just because we're so used to seeing him in WWE. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Although it does look like CM Punk will be debuting in the next few weeks for AEW, according to Meltzer. Tony Schiavone announced that AEW Rampage is going to be recording from the United Center in Chicago in September, which would be the fourth show in a row in the Chicago market in just over 2 weeks from AEW. And apparently there was CM Punk chants on last week's Dynamite show that AEW, allowed those to happen. So they're obviously not hiding it, not trying to block out the sound with other fake crowd chants or anything like that. And Tony Khan has apparently just recently booked this other show in Chicago in a building that could hold up to 15,000 fans. And this is right after doing All Out, a Dynamite taping, and a Rampage taping in the same market. So to add a fourth date in the same market kind of tells you without confirmation that AEW is bringing in CM Punk and actually expects him to have a good reaction in the Chicago market. I personally, and I've said this before, I don't think CM Punk will be a long-term ratings draw. I don't doubt that he will draw in Chicago because he's known with that market. And I don't doubt that he hasn't wrestled since like 2014. People are going to want to check him out to see him wrestle. But he always had the gimmick of like the tough quasi MMA guy, and he had horrible showings in MMA. So it's hard to take him seriously. And people can say, oh, well, it's wrestling, it's something different, all you want. The perceived toughness still matters to most people. But time will tell. It also looks like they've signed Bryan Danielson. Of course, he'll be a solid performer for their brand. But again, Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are two people that like the AEW fans like those type of people, and they're already watching. Will they draw new people that aren't watching AEW? Will the people like me that are more fans of the Goldbergs and the Brock Lesnars and the Ultimate Warriors and the Road Warriors tune in to see Daniel Bryan and CM Punk? No. Will I watch CM Punk's first thing he does? Probably, yeah. But I'm not a CM Punk fan. He's not going to keep me there. But definitely, I'll definitely tune in to see what both those guys do on the first show. Or I shouldn't say I'll watch the show. I don't have cable, but I'll watch the YouTube stuff. And also for AEW, they had some controversy this week because on this week's episode, they had Chris Jericho against this Nick Cage wrestler, bank robber turned wrestler, which I've said is funny, and I don't condone what Sammy Guevara said last year, but when he used the slang term, I want to rape Sasha Banks or whatever, he was suspended. And yeah, that was a rude thing to say. And that's, for people that don't know, that's what people will say. It's a term nowadays. I've heard it lots. If a guy thinks a girl is hot, he'll tell his friends, oh, I want to rape that girl. He said this on a podcast, which was a big bad move, but he said it before he was signed for AEW and was still punished by AEW. Both Nick Gage and Mike Tyson have been convicted of criminal offenses, and AEW used them with no punishment. So I don't get it. It sends a bit of a weird message. And I don't condone any of that, either that kind of criminal activity or the term rape to describe a hot girl. But anyways, Gage got AEW in some trouble here or AEW got themselves in trouble because Gage used a pizza cutter to mimic slicing of Chris Jericho's hand and forehead. And I guess right after that, they played a Domino's pizza ad. And I guess Domino's wasn't happy about this. And one of their front office people said, quote, "We share the concerns expressed about this incident and the contents of this TV 14 related program and are assessing our advertising presence on it going forward," end quote. And that was Jenny Petco in an article from Front Office Sports. I guess Domino's is a major sponsor of TNT and Warner Media programming. So it's a fairly serious issue that they're mad about this pizza cutter stuff. Eric Bischoff has also expressed his concern about this quote unquote garbage wrestling being used on AEW. Say what you want, they got a 0.45 rating this week for Dynamite. NXT got a 0.12. Raw got a 0.49. SmackDown last week did a 0.55. So it's safe to say that AEW is no longer competing with NXT. They got a 0.45 rating. Raw only did a 0.49 rating. So Raw only did 0.4 points better than AEW. So this is becoming more interesting. And I like to see WWE have some competition, to be honest. And I'm not an AEW fan. I'm not a WWE fan. Not a Ring of Honor fan. Sure as hell aren't an Impact fan. But I would say I'm neutral unless it comes to Great North Wrestling, which is a company I'm involved with. Of course, I'm going to be for Great North Wrestling, but I'm honest about that. Now, in WWE news, they shared their second quarter financials. They took in $265,540,000 and had a $29,201,000 profit for the second quarter. Last year, they took in $223,405,000, but had a $43,789,000 profit. So they took in less revenue the same quarter last year, but made a lot more profit. They're still making a lot of profit. So, and again, this has to do with everything that they do, their TV contracts, their YouTube money, their merchandising revenue, everything. Second quarter TV ratings for Raw were down 4.7% from the same time period last year. SmackDown was down 2.9% from the same time period last year. So we're seeing a continuous decline for the current TV product's popularity. Apparently, there's over 40,000 tickets sold for SummerSlam at Allegiant Stadium, which is going to be their largest gate for a non-WrestleMania event of this year. And of course, WrestleMania was under COVID restrictions, so it's already going to have a greater attendance than WrestleMania. Apparently, Cena is going to stay appearing with WWE beyond SummerSlam. They've already announced them for the September 10th Madison Square Garden SmackDown that tickets haven't been moving that great for. WWE is going to return to Saudi Arabia on October the 21st as Piper says hello again. Apparently, the company is planning a Queen of the Ring tournament that is going to have the final in Saudi Arabia, which we all remember the last Saudi Arabia's girls match where they had to dress in full sleeves. And it was really sad to see. So how are they going to pull this off in Saudi Arabia, where they will still chemically castrate you if you're gay, apparently, according to what I've read. They're quite behind on the times in Saudi Arabia. Harry Smith, who did a dark match teaming with Austin Theory on SmackDown a few weeks ago, and then did an online interview after saying he was back, which was a kind of disappointing way for him to debut. But apparently he's been signed with the company since April and was told to keep quiet about it. John Laurinaitis was the one responsible for recruiting him. He had talked to Tony Khan and Jim Ross. The original idea was him to debut on the NXT UK brand and feud with Walter over the title. But apparently he's now on the main roster. Vince and John Laurinaitis wanted him on SmackDown. I mean, I hope that they re-debut him better than just debuting him in a dark match that didn't even air on TV and then having him do an online promo saying he's back, because I'd rather him be in the main event of NXT UK than have like little to no role on the main roster. So let's hope he actually gets used better than, even though he was a WWE Tag Team Champion, a lot of us expected more from him from his first WWE run. So I hope that he gets a better run this time. Sorry to hear that Natalya got injured this week. Of course, that's Harry Smith's cousin. She apparently hurt her ankle by getting caught under Dewdrop's weight in a match, got an MRI after the match, and has an injured ankle. Jeff Hardy tested positive for COVID July 24th. The July 23rd SmackDown in Cleveland had 10,200 fans in attendance with 9,000 paid. The house show in Pittsburgh, July 24th, did 7,700 fans. July 25th, Louisville house show did 6,000 fans. The July 26th Raw in Kansas City did 7,700 fans with 6,500 paid. The July 28th AEW in Charlotte did 6,600 paid, 7,000 fans in attendance for the Dynamite Dark Elevations tapings. And it's noteworthy that Cena was on all of those WWE live shows. And when they announced him as being part of it, ticket sales went up. In some unfortunate news, Brian Blair's son, Brett, was killed, murdered at 29. His body was found on a construction site. No suspects. He did have some issues with the law over the past numerous years. Sorry to hear about that. I have numerous interviews with Brian Blair on this channel. In Mexico news, Super Porky, a.k.a. Jose Luis Alivardo, died at age 58 due to a heart attack. He had kind of a fat guy who dances gimmick. In Japan news, there was lots of mainstream publicity for New Japan this week because despite no spectators for Olympics, there was about 5,000 paid spectators for the New Japan Tokyo show. According to Meltzer, 5,389 paid. However, it was a 40,000 seat building, so apparently the sound was really bad. And apparently, according to Meltzer, he says they would have been better off doing the show at Sumo Hall or Budokan Hall, where the crowd would have been more condensed and it would have sounded better. Also, and this just sounds crazy to me, I'm already not a Japanese wrestling fan, but apparently in 4.5 hours, they had just 6 matches on this card, which is a lot of really long matches. In UFC news, UFC on ESPN, July 17th, did a 0.31 rating for the main card and a 0.15 rating for the prelims. That goes to show you wrestling still overall is more popular on television than MMA. Good morning to Colonel Quayle to get into some of your questions. Yes, Robert, I just talked about Super Porky passing away. AEW should sign Gilbert. It might actually be funny if they did a segment with Gilbert. Barley Broker, am I lifting again? Yeah, the gyms have been open for 3 weeks today, so that's great. Michael Collins, could more AEW success inspire WWE to drop the comedy writer nonsense? Well, AEW is doing a lot of comedy crap still. And it depends what you define success by, because AEW is actually in the red. They're not profitable, where WWE had huge profits, as I just discussed for this quarter. Something like 29 million in profits. So just because they're hiring wrestlers and paying them a lot of money to get their ratings up does not mean they're financially successful. I mean, if my father had 14 billion like Tony Khan's, I could put on a high-rated show too and get some pretty good crowds. But would that make me a profitable company? There's a difference. If you're measuring success by profits, WWE is far more successful. If you're measuring close ratings, but one company is in the red and the other is making $29 million for one quarter in profits, I would rather be in WWE's case. Now, I'm not saying WWE has a better product. I can't watch either of them, to be perfectly honest with you. JJ, I have no interest in doing many more fan conventions to answer the question. I don't like them. I'd rather send representatives to do them for me. I hate being around wrestling. Lacey Von Erich covered WrestleCon for the Hannibal TV this year. As you might remember, we all know a certain someone watched all of her videos very closely. Maybe one day she'll do some more work with the Hannibal TV. Who knows? Good morning to you, Bob. Centennial, yeah, Punk exposed. It really is not good for business how bad a display Punk did in UFC, particularly his second fight where he lost to another 0-1 fighter. We got some spammers on here. Robert. Yes, apparently Darby Allin did hint towards CM Punk. Could AJ Styles end up in AEW? No. AJ Styles, to my recollection, recently signed another long-term agreement with WWE, and I believe he even said that he hoped that that would be his final contract in wrestling. WWE has taken good care of AJ Styles. Luke does not like Nick Gage. A lot of people don't like him. Vic is not a fan of death matches. I am not a fan of death matches either. And some people will say, well, Hannibal, you're a hardcore wrestler. I'm a realistic wrestler. I'm a strong style wrestler. I've been busted open the hard way many, many times. And I have had quote-unquote hardcore matches. Yes, I've even been involved in light tube stuff, which I regret. Which I deeply regret. I actually bashed Jinder Mahal. And I guarantee you the one and only thing he ever did with light tubes. And I've been involved with glass stuff, and I don't condone it. It's not worth it. But as far as a rough style, I don't believe in the glass and the light tubes anymore. And I only did that here and there. But there's a difference between cookie cutters, box cutters, and all that crap, and tables and chairs and ring bells and stuff that's around the ring. When you're getting into panes of glass and fire and all this stuff, it's just, I agree that it's garbage wrestling. I fully agree. And it's not real. Jake the Snake even said it. Light tubes, let's face the fact, it doesn't even hurt to get busted by light tubes. It causes a bunch of small cuts, but it's fairly painless. But yeah, what I don't like about that is I understand in AEW they're going to do it by the book and they're going to be paid well and there's going to be testing. But on the independent scene, way, way, way more often than not, there is no testing because independent companies just can't afford it. And people aren't paid well on the indies because the indies don't make money. So I don't condone like wrestlers for $20 or free or $50 doing light tube or fire stuff because they've seen it on TV or barbed wire stuff, because while those AEW guys are getting paid a lot and there's people making sure that those stunts are being done as safe as possible. It's not like that on the indies. So I don't think it sets a good example for independent wrestling. That's just my thoughts on it. Someone says wrestling on glass is dumb. I agree. Jabba can't get into AEW. Kung Fu remembers when once upon a time a 2.0 was horrible. As I puff on my THC here, Tom Smith from the UK misses the good old days of wrestling. Well, as I said, August 28th, Great North Wrestling. It's going to be a very realistic product for sure. Constipated in Sim City thinks I look spooky. Well, I'm a very spooky person. Robert, Impact gets like a 0.02 rating, and the product is absolutely horrible. By the way, PCW Ultra is a product that I do like, and they've made a bunch of announcements this week regarding their October 22nd event in LA. Ron Simmons is going to be there. Victoria Vaughn, who's been in AEW recently, is going to be there. Ruby Reyes, JTG. Tons more announcements coming for that PCW Ultra event in LA, which, by the way, all the matches from that are going to air on the Hannibal TV. What was the largest papered event? Probably the Collision in Korea shows, which people were forced to go to, which were the highest attended wrestling events ever. The other thing that's hurting independent wrestling a lot is the papering of events. A lot of the TV companies are heavily papering events, so how are independent people supposed to charge? I saw one guy who I'd never even heard of post on Twitter recently, which, by the way, we're at the Hannibal TV on Twitter. An independent guy, again, I've never even heard of, but somebody retweeted it, who I guess I follow. I have no idea. But they wrote, for independent promoters that want you to wrestle 2 times on a show, you better be prepared to pay me double. I mean, in grappling or MMA, you fight amateur for free. Sometimes you actually have to pay to do it, more often than not. And then, I'll be honest with you, most independent promoters do not make money. And wrestlers should be happy, and Al Snow would agree with me on this, should be happy just to be getting experience. And if they want to give you 2 matches on a show, if you're not known like this guy who I'd never even heard of, you should be happy that you're getting 2 chances to get over with the crowd. That's my opinion on it. I mean, when I wrestled for Stampede Wrestling, the most I ever made was $75. I was paid in change sometimes, and I set up and tore down the ring. I mean, for independent wrestlers, you should be trying to learn your craft as much as possible and not worry so much about pay, because I guarantee you, ticket printing, poster design, DJ fees, ring fees, insurance, ring rental or hiring people to set up your ring, advertising, paying the whole card and travel. There's very few promoters making a lot of money on the independent scene. A couple more questions. Why is Hannibal not in AEW? I'm retired. I've been retired since 2018. I like being my own boss. I like doing this. Although I can't say I've enjoyed many of my interviews lately. I do like editing videos. I like doing my own thing. And some idiot troll, and I hate to even bring up trolls, was like, oh, Hannibal should get a real job. YouTube is easy. It's not easy. I work almost every waking hour. And the hours that I'm not working, editing or producing content, I'm training just to stay in shape because I'm a healthy person. So I work 24 hours a day. People might think YouTube is easy. It's not. And yes, by the way, at this point in July, the month is not over. There's still, I think, 2 days left in July. I have almost 2 million more hits than Ring of Honor this month. And a look at how big a company that is and how well company that is. And some people say, well, Hannibal, you work really hard. That's not an excuse. For a big company like Ring of Honor that has people on 6-figure payrolls to be getting their ass kicked by Hannibal TV. Charles Hollowell says someone will be misused. I don't know if you're talking about Daniel Bryan or what, but back to Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, there's rumors that they would have part creative control if they go to AEW. They already have Jericho with creative control, Moxley with creative control. I understand MJF has some creative input. Tony Khan is a booker. All the executives are bookers. Jim Ross at one point had some creative input. There's a lot of creative people with control in AEW, and kind of reminds me of WCW in that way. A lot of people with creative control in their contracts. And it didn't turn out so well for WCW. Do I have a podcast? This is my podcast, my daily news update. So subscribe to the Hannibal TV for all the wrestling news and my interviews. It's all on here. Have a great weekend. Have a great night or morning, whatever it is for you.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates.